The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Welcome back to another episode of the 15-Point Plan podcast. My name is Ryan Park Greigg, and I'm here with the absolutely amazing Jacqueline Smith. The 15-Point Plan, it is a system. It is an energy management system, and it's a way that you can take ordinary things like drinking water, like sleeping, like moving your body a little bit, like the things that we eat, and we put these into a system. And when we do these all and we track them and we increase the rate at which we do them, we just have a lot more energy and a little bit less stress. Right, Jacqueline?
Absolutely. And I think when we have more energy and we're less stressed, we're just happier. And that's kind of, I don't know, the goal, right?
The goal is just to be where we maybe don't freak out, where we maybe don't snap back at people. We don't want to pull our hair out at the end of the day, because we know we've all been there. We've all snapped at people. We've all wanted to pull our hair out. So our goal with this podcast is to give you some tools and tips that will help you just slow down a little bit and realize, hey, life is actually pretty dang good because we checked that gratitude point. But what we've been doing over the last few episodes is we've been diving deep into this operating at peak performance manual. This is like a blueprint, Jacqueline. This is like some good stuff. And if you haven't listened to the past couple episodes, I'd highly recommend to our listeners to go back and listen to the last few episodes. You can go to winmakegive.com, because again, what we're talking about is really operating at peak performance. And this is like an energy management blueprint. We've covered a couple topics over the last few episodes. And today, Jacqueline, we're getting into like the red zone here. We're getting into like the danger zone a little bit here. We're getting into this zone that I'm super curious to learn more about. This is pillar number 5, stress mastery. I want to be a master of stress, Jacqueline. Help me out here. How can we all become masters of stress?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I have learned is that continually wishing for a life with no stress is probably never going to happen. So you've got to get some habits that help you manage your stress. Maybe minimize the impacts of stress on your body, on your relationships, on your life. And one of the things that I have learned is over time is that I used to think that I had a pretty good stress management plan. My stress management plan, Ryan, was, on those really stressful days where, like you just said, I want to pull my hair out, good old bottle of like Pinot Grigio or something, could wash all my stress away for a little while anyways. But what I learned actually, it was listening to a Huberman podcast about alcohol and the effects on the brain, that it actually is not doing any stress relief at all. And so if you are like me, like I was, and you don't really have a stress management plan, this is for you. If you have a stress management plan, maybe you'll learn something that will make it even better. But the point is, you got to have a plan, because cortisol is the silent destroyer of peak performance. But Ryan, what the heck is cortisol?
Yeah. So Jacqueline, you're right. And when I hear you talk about that, like, that is not a stress management plan. That is a stress postponement plan when we do things.
That's good.
We're not managing our stress. We're just postponing it till the next day when that hangover wears off. And now we're still stressed. So that idea is that's just postponing that stress that we know is inevitable. But this word cortisol comes up a lot when we talk about stress. And I think it's important to just understand what cortisol is a little bit. And then we can talk how that's impacting us. But cortisol is really our body's primary stress hormone. When we get stressed, our body spikes. It comes from our adrenal glands. It's like this built-in alarm system. And what it does is it's here to help us. Cortisol is here to signal to our body, hey, there's something going on. For example, there is a tiger chasing you or a lion chasing you, and you need to run right now. That was where these things came from. Well, fortunately for us, in most cases, we don't have an actual tiger chasing us or a lion chasing us, but we have these little things in our life that, well, they become really stressful. They add up. And your cortisol then can increase. Your cortisol can then spike. Your cortisol can then get to a place where your body is just kind of always in this stress mode. And that really wears down your body. And what that does is having high cortisol symptoms, meaning you've got high levels of cortisol all the time, it can cause these things like rapid weight gain, higher blood pressure. It can make you feel muscle weakness, and you get these crazy mood swings, Jacqueline. And I don't know about you, but like I like to try to stay balanced. And I know that when I'm stressed, my mood swings. So if you're thinking to yourself, gosh, like I'm super irritable, or not only do I want to pull my hair out, but I want to pull their hair out, we we might just be experiencing a higher level of cortisol due to how we're not managing our stress. Maybe it's built up over the last couple of weeks and we're not managing it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we know it can go up very high, and it can also drop. Low cortisol symptoms means you're going to be worn out. You're going to be feeling tired. You're going to be just worn out all the time. So you got to regulate it. You got to regulate it with things like diet, exercise, and mindful practices. Right, Jacqueline?
Yeah. And actually, why this is so important is because chronic stress it literally shrinks your brain over time. So we're not talking about, let's say you have like a stressful day, but overall, you're pretty like easygoing. You don't have any stress in your life. We're talking about chronic stress. It actually kills neurons in the prefrontal cortex. So this is the region of your brain that is responsible for planning, judgment, impulse control, and empathy. So it simultaneously enlarges the amygdala, which makes you more reactive, anxious, and irrational. And this is actually measurable on an MRI. So this is the impact of chronic stress over long term, is that the amygdala is enlarging and the prefrontal cortex is, the neurons are getting killed, and it's actually making you into more reactive and anxious and irrational even person. Who wants to be irrational? Not me. Not me. Okay.
No, we don't. And speaking of the brain, it's going to cause a 13% decrease in your hippocampus volume loss. And that's the area where you're going to help process stress. So your brain is shrinking. Your ability to process stress is now getting lower.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And then you're at 4 times higher risk of a heart attack.
so, what I love about these studies, Jacqueline, is again, they're going very deep into important stuff in our life. We're not just talking, oh, you should work out because then you can be the muscle definition that you want. No, this is serious stuff. In previous episodes, we're talking about risks of Alzheimer's disease. And now we're talking about heart attack, and we're talking about life or death situations that are absolutely impacted by how we treat our body and how we manage our stress, right?
Well, and yeah, who wants to have a shrinking brain? Not
That
me.
was like the absolute most amazing segue, Jacqueline. I cannot believe you just said that, because I immediately I thought of the show Shrinking.
Oh, you
Literally
did?
30 seconds
Yeah.
ago, I thought of the
I
show.
actually like that show.
Okay, now here's why I thought of it, because I think that so many of us oftentimes are way more stressed than we actually need to be, and we do so much of this to ourselves, where we just wake up and we're in reactive mode, and we're constantly responding to people, and we're constantly doing things that make us feel stressed. But do you remember that scene? I can't remember his name, but the flamboyant lawyer guy, and he says something like, "Things just always work out for me. Things always work out for me," and he's super annoying the way he says it. And they're like, "Yeah, I know. Like, you're so annoying. Things always work out for you." And in that moment, I realized, like, that guy's got the perfect mindset. He's got this mindset of like, why would I stress? Things always work out. What if we had that mindset? Like, we're both in real estate. I'm in a transaction right now. The agent has called me, I think, 4 times this morning and 5 times last night. She's freaking out. And I'm just going, it's going to work out. Like, yeah, it's annoying for an hour, but it's going to work out. So what if we just woke up every day of our life and thought like he did in that Shrinking show, like, look, everything works out.
Yeah.
Everything always works out for me.
It's important that we do, because I actually saw this stat, and it said that there's also, when you have chronic stress, you have an increased infection risk by over 300%. So not only like, I just think of those times where you're like, okay, I'm going through a stressful season and I'm letting it like really stress me out. And then on top of that, I'm going to get sick.
Yeah.
Like, or I'm 300% more likely is like, I don't know, pretty likely,
Yeah, you're basically screwed.
You're probably going to get sick. And then I think about, okay, how is that going to help my situation at all? It's going to make it way worse. I'm going to be like physically like down and out on top of my mindset. Before we keep going, I want to read this because I just think it might be impactful to our listeners. I did not write it, but I shared it with my team this morning because I think you're right. A lot of times we are getting stressed out, and we're making things worse rather than, diffusing situations. So it said this, if you're a stressed out business owner, read this. Your stress isn't caused by your clients. You could also say your stress isn't caused by your kids, like fill in the blank, right? You cause it. And there's one concept that would change your entire experience as a business owner. You can also say as a mom, as a dad, as a whatever you want. It is called detached concern. Detached concern is the ability to maintain deep empathy and compassion for someone while preserving a healthy emotional distance. So there's the concern and the detachment. A panicking surgeon is a dangerous surgeon. Your clients don't need you to panic with them. The surgeon doesn't love the patient less because he's not crying during the procedure. There's also hard science behind this, in that stress is literally contagious. So mirror neurons cause us to unconsciously sync to the emotional states of those around us. But when we're aware of that, we have a choice in it. You can be a thermostat or a thermometer. Thermostats set the temperature in the room. Thermometers adjust to it. So in a world full of thermometers, be a thermostat. Use your awareness to set the temperature. Don't adjust to it. So whether it's your kids or that agent that's calling you 9 times, you getting stressed about it is not going to help the situation. I always think of that. I think of a panicking surgeon. And if I was under the knife, how would I want my surgeon to respond in this moment? I think about that all the time when I'm doing real estate transactions and I start feeling stressed out. Like, I'm here to be the voice of reason, the calm, the thermostat. The thermostat, not the thermometer. So I thought that was so good. And I just shared it this morning. So I wanted to share it with our audience and with you, Ryan, because it sounds like you have a fun one happening.
I've heard that before, Jacqueline, of being a thermostat, but I hadn't heard it for a while. So it's a really good reminder, and it's a great visual, right? Like, don't be the one that controls the situation and regulates the situation, which makes me kind of want to skip ahead and then we'll come back, because we have to ask ourselves, well, how can we do that? How can we regulate the situation? I think I shared this quote a couple episodes ago, but it was, let your first word be your breath. Let your first word be your breath. So when somebody's freaking out and they're coming at you and they're just go, give it a second. Just give it a second. They're going to then be forced to take a breath. Now they might calm down a little bit. Before we talk about heart rate variability, Jacqueline, let's go ahead and talk about some tips and tools that people can use.
Yeah.
Use that breath to maybe be a thermostat, and how they can regulate their stress, which will help regulate the stress of those around them. These are some real-time stress regulation tips and tools that you can use from anywhere. And you just heard me do one. It's just that like physiological sigh. It takes all of 1 to 3 breaths.
So you do a double inhale through the nose and then a long, complete exhale through the mouth. So like, it's kind of like that, like exaggerated, right? Where you're not holding back that exhale. So it's 2 quick inhale through the nose and then long, complete exhale through the mouth. And this, why it works is it deflates the air sacs that cluster during stress, causing CO2 buildup. The fastest known method to reduce heart rate and anxiety is this. It's the physiological sigh. If only, Ryan, we could remember in the moment when we want to pull hair out to do this. I think that's the hardest part, right? Is actually remembering and doing the tools that you know.
Yeah, and what it says there, it's the fastest method to reduce heart rate and anxiety. Try it out for our listeners. Try it out. In
Yeah.
fact, just get into this habit of anytime somebody asks you something, give yourself one breath before you respond. And when we did that, when we just both did that there, look at the opposite. When your body gets stressed out, what do? You go, you
Yeah.
hold your breath.
Yeah, you tense up.
You tense up, you hold your breath. So just think about it like that. How can I release my breath? How can I let go of my breath? It's going to massively decrease your heart rate. And within just a couple of breaths, you can then take your heart rate down, which will take your stress down. Another thing you can do is what's called box breathing. We've talked about this before. You can do it for 4 seconds. You can do it for 8 seconds. But this is where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4, and hold for 4. Again, you can do it for longer if you're working your way up. This is such a great mindfulness tool. Try this before you go to bed. Do this for 5 or 10 minutes before you go to bed, and your mind will feel so much calmer because it's just going to help you activate that parasympathetic nervous system, and it's going to maintain your alertness, but it's going to suppress those things that were causing you to feel stressed to begin with.
Yeah, I do this in the mornings for a couple of minutes every day. I either do it like when I first wake up, or I'll do it on the way to the office, sometimes both. This one I do often, and it does make a difference. You can do it if you have like a stressful meeting or negotiation, or like Ryan said, just when you're trying to calm down and like regulate. And then there's a third breathing technique. So you can kind of use these for different things, right? Like the physiological sigh is good for when you have like an instant stress spike, before a hard conversation. Box breathing, like pre-meeting, pre-negotiation, morning activation. And then this next one, the 4-7-8 breathing, it's great for evening unwind, for anxiety or insomnia. So tell us about the 4-7-8.
Well, the 4-7-8, Jacqueline, is just one more breathing method. And what I love about these two, like I think we talked about this in the past, this idea of like when you can't fall asleep, you count sheep. I'm convinced that that's where this came from. Is this counting method? It's this idea of a focused breath count. And somewhere along the line, someone threw some dang sheep in there. But this is the inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. By counting and focusing on your breath, it's just going to regulate your body. It's going to regulate your mind. And it's going to regulate your heart rate, Jacqueline. And that's what we're going to end this episode on, is this idea of heart rate variability. And it makes sense when you think about it. What is your heart rate? Okay, it's the rate at which your heart beats.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want it too high. You don't want it too low. When it gets high, this is where you're at risk for heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
So heart rate variability, it's the measure of the milliseconds between how your heart beats. This is how the regularity at which your heart beats. So not how your heart beats, but the regularity as to the variability of how much it goes up and how much it goes down. This predicts your emotional regulation and leadership quality. It's directly correlated with cognitive flexibility and problem solving. Having a low heart rate variability the day before a meeting equals suboptimal decision making. And lastly, your heart rate variability is your daily readiness score. It tells you when to push and when to recover. In other words, when we keep tanking that heart rate variability, we're just not performing very well. We're not making very good decisions. We're showing up stressed out, and we're not showing up like the leader that we can. So here's some tips that we'll end this episode with, is how you can increase your heart rate variability, Jacqueline. Does your Oura Ring track that, by the way?
Yep, it does. And last night, so I had a readiness score of 86 this morning, and it did give me a little note. My resting heart rate lowered last night, and it said, could it be that you ate too close to bedtime? Eating earlier in the evening can give enough time for your digestive system to do its job. And lo and behold, I did. I ate closer to my bedtime last night just because of stuff my schedule. And I was hungry last night. So it was interesting that I did. And I even paused and was like, should I just go to bed? And I was hungry, Ryan. And so anyway, I still had a good score. I still got, for everyone that has an Aura, I still got my 3 crowns. But that was a little like alert that I had this morning when I woke up.
It's so nice to be able to see those things. And it's like, you knew that already. You would have known today, oh yeah, I ate later, so I don't feel as well. But it's just nice seeing that data and having those reminders, right?
Totally. The other thing I really like about it is that there's like a daytime stress section, and you can actually see each day how much stress time you have and how much restorative time you have. And it's fine to have stress, right? Like stress in itself isn't bad. It's just that we're talking about chronic stress. So that means that you don't have the restorative time and you don't have the stress management techniques. And so then you get out of balance. So the goal is to have restorative time, in addition, not just stress. So I like having the visual, and I can see like hour by hour throughout the day on my Aura app, like if I'm stressed, engaged, relaxed, or restored. So
it's
right now I'm between relaxed and engaged. So
good. I think that's right where we should be.
Yeah.
Last thing that we'll leave our listeners with is just some tips on keeping that heart rate variability up to the performance level that it could be. And these are things that you can do in just a matter of a couple minutes. You can do that box breathing like we talked about for just 5 minutes. You can do cold exposure, Jacqueline, jumping in that cold lake or that cold plunge. You only have to do 11 minutes per week, though. So that's 3 sessions at 3 minutes and some change. Now, we've talked about this on that last sleep episode. Consistent sleep, super important. If we're staying up late and then we're getting up late and we're mixing that up, it's going to throw off that heart rate variability drastically. We got to get some zone 2 and zone 3 cardio in. We want to watch our alcohol. We want to make sure that we've got a good social connection. And then we want to get outside. Last thing on that list is about 20 minutes a week of just simply being outside. Easy ways that we can increase our heart rate variability and keep ourselves in a lower state of stress, keeps our cortisol lower, keeps our body feeling better. And like we said in the very beginning, we're just a little bit happier and probably a little bit more of a better human to be around. Right, Jacqueline?
Absolutely. So that's it for today. I hope this helped you all be a little less stressed, or at least manage the stress you have with more tools. Let us know if you have a great stress management technique that helps you stay grounded and relaxed, or at least, not chronically stressed. We hope to see you or hear you, or I guess, no, we're not going to hear you or see you. You're going to hear us on the next episode. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. These are such great episodes. This is such great information that we're sharing. We hope that it's helpful to you. You can find us on Instagram, Ryan Park Greigg, or myself, Jacqueline Ray Smith. We like to use our middle names. So funny that we both do that. And we'll catch you on the next episode, everyone. Bye.
That's right. Bye, everyone.